So when I was 16, I told you guys about a little bit about my trip to Peru. I didn't get very far into it, did I? I saw some of the happiest people I've ever seen. They were so poor, but they were genuinely happy. And unlike the people from my team, 30 or 40, mostly Americans, they weren't thinking about the things that they didn't have. They were grateful for what they did have. And while my friends were complaining about the rice and fish for every meal, they were just thankful to have a meal when we were ladling out soup and rice in the villages in the Amazon. So I bathed in the Amazon and I fed the children in those villages. I got to preach some of my first sermons. I saw the stars of the southern hemisphere for the first time. The biggest moon I think I've ever seen. My brother and I rented a couple of mopeds in town when we got back from the Amazon in town, and we used them to run away from these crooked cops that our translator said just wanted a bribe. I encountered this riverboat toilet that was basically just a hole in the back of the boat, and got stuck on that same boat when it ran out of gas just on the opposite side of the Amazon from the town we were going to on my 16th birthday. That night pretty much everyone got sick and was throwing up after the celebration meal we had at this burger place. And then I thought I was falling in love again, but that was another bad story. I turned down my friend who had invited me to go and look for crocodiles in this stagnant Amazonian pond. He didn't find any crocs. He had reassured me. He said, it's okay. If they're too big, you can see because the eyes will be too wide. They'll be too wide apart, and so you'll know if it's not the right one to wrestle. I'm like, this is Al from Cleveland. He actually brought more knives than he brought clothes to the outreach. He had a whole pack of these big, long, Rambo or Crocodile Dundee style knives, and he had, I'm not exaggerating, he had one change of clothes. Happiest guy you ever met. So he didn't find a crocodile, but he did find a massive blood-sucking leech on his back that he ended up taking off Rambo style. You heat up the blade of your knife, and you poke it, and it turns loose, and you can take it off. You might want to take notes in case. Yeah, try it sometime. One thing you really need to try, you guys, is to listen to God and to obey what He does. Because when you do, you'll get into some of the most amazing adventures that you'll never regret. And that's been my experience. But speaking of regret, let me tell you about the flight to get to Peru. We got on Fawcett Airlines. This flight was going from Miami to Peru, nonstop, to Iquitos, the second or third largest city in the country. And this was the only Peruvian airline, guys. Probably for a reason, I don't know. But we got on the plane, and I noticed that there were no little TVs or anything. They were actually playing bingo. And so we all sat down, and about 30 of us or 35 of us. And I'm towards the back of the plane, behind the wing, and we get on, we take off, and we're talking, we're happy, everyone's excited to go. And we get out somewhere over the Gulf of Mexico. I'm not exactly sure where we were. And they're playing bingo, and they're calling out the numbers, and I'm not paying attention. But all of a sudden, I really start paying attention when I hear this huge boom! And the whole plane shakes. And my friends were describing as there were flames coming out of the engine on the left side. And I'm on the right side, and I'm seeing as they're starting to release fuel from the engine on the wing on my side of the plane. And I'm looking out the window, these blue flashes. I think they were lighting little by little, lighting the fuel so it wouldn't all catch at once. I'm not exactly sure how these things work. But people were freaking out, and for good reason. And then the most worrisome thing happened. That intercom came back on that was just spitting out bingo numbers a minute before. And the pilot said the most frightening thing. He said, "Ladies and gentlemen, we're experiencing some minor technical difficulties." Minor? Really? So I'm watching these blue flashes like lightning going off on the window beside me. And as you can imagine, people are scared. There was a girl in the seat just across from me. I would have been on the right side, so she would have been over just about from you to me. She was one of the girls from my team, and she was literally frozen with fear. Her arms were clutching the armrests, and she was looking straight forward, this deathly stare. And we could not get her to react no matter what we did. I decided to pray. And under the circumstances, I'm sure I was not the only one. But I just took a moment and I tried to ignore all the things that were going on around me. And I said, "God, is everything between you and me cool?" I felt this wash over me of just this peace. And in an instant, I just had this understanding that it was cool. Between him and me, everything was okay. And I didn't know if that meant we weren't going to, crash in the middle of the water. I wasn't sure exactly where we were. Maybe somewhere in the Bermuda Triangle. Could have been. I don't think so. But the pilot said we're headed to Panama, which if you get your geography, Peru's down here, Miami's over here, Panama's way over there. Not on the way. But it was the closest international airport, and legally they were obliged to go to wherever was the closest physically from that point. So we were on our way to Panama. And I knew that wasn't good news. But I just said, "Lord, I don't think you called me to go to Peru and then to have this plane just go down in the middle of the ocean. But even if we do, thank you. Thank you that we're cool." How is it peace? I put on my headphones, and I was okay. I just listened to some music, and I was like, okay, doing this with you, God. As we're starting to head in, this lady behind me is saying, "Oh, it's okay. My dad's a pilot for these airlines, and they can land these things with just one engine. I mean, they do that all the time." I'm like, "You are so full of it, lady." I didn't say anything, but I was just like, "This is so not true." And as we're going down, I'm seeing ambulance, fire truck, police car, ambulance, fire truck, police car, the whole length of the landing strip. And we're going in, and we come down, and we landed smooth. Sorry. But we made it. Thank you, Jesus. That was my first time, my only time in Panama.